Welcome to Blackstone Intelligence. I'm going to give you some figures that are going to really upset you. In the last 20 months, since October 2023, the State of Israel has carried out thousands of military operations against its various neighbors. Let's go through a couple of these. Israeli airstrikes hit 1,300 sites in Lebanon, which resulted in at least 1,600 casualties, at least 500 deaths. It has carried out hundreds of airstrikes against targets in Syria, and according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, at least 600 people had been killed by Israel just through December 2024. Israel has carried out over 180 operations against targets in Iraq, also resulting in mass casualties. In Yemen, they've carried out hundreds of airstrikes that have resulted in hundreds of dead civilians. And then, of course, there is Palestine. Since October 2023, Israel has carried out thousands of aerial bombardments, and along with their ground invasions, this has resulted in, at bare minimum, 55,000 Palestinians being killed in Gaza, mostly women and children. Countless more are dead. They're buried under the rubble, but they can't be counted. In December 2024, the World Health Organization estimated that at least 10,000 Palestinians are unaccounted for because their bodies they'll never be pulled out of the rubble. And that was half a year ago, so the figure has certainly climbed since then. You may have heard of the Lancet. The Lancet is the leading peer-reviewed medical journal in the world. In July of last year, they estimated that indirect deaths due to Israel's campaign in Gaza exceeded 186,000 Palestinians. These are Palestinians who would have died not because a bomb hit them, but because they lost access to medical care because Israel has destroyed all the hospitals, lack of access to water, no clean water, lack of access to shelter. They're out there sleeping in the open in many cases, people dying of exposure, and of course, mass starvation, which is a concerted campaign by Israel to starve the people to death. So more recent estimates of these extra fatalities are well over 200,000 as indirect fatalities. Back in January, Lancet published a report stating that they believe, based on their research, their best estimates, what the Gaza Health Ministry has been putting out as far as their fatality count, that's actually way off. The Lancet researchers estimate that the true death toll is about 41% higher. And they said that of the people killed, they confirmed 59% of the Palestinians killed by Israel were either women or children or elderly, all unarmed non-combatants. These are the confirmed non-fatal injuries in Gaza. The confirmed ones were 127,000. However, the unaccounted injuries are, we could probably estimate that at least double. Now, that's just in Gaza. Remember, Israel says that they are doing all of this because Hamas from the Gaza Strip attacked Israel on October 7th. But the Palestinians in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem, they had nothing to do with it. They've not participated in that in any way. And yet, the United Nations OCHA put the estimated death toll of Palestinian civilians between October 2023 and forward, between Israeli military operations, police operations, extremist settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, at least 2,000 Palestinian civilians killed. And that's in addition to 10 to 15,000 of them who have been wounded in these various attacks. So when we take all of these credible estimates from reputable organizations, at the upper end, in the last 20 months alone, the Zionist State of Israel is responsible for 281,450 fatalities, an additional 399,900 injuries, for a total of 681,350 casualties. And they have done it with the full support of both Democrat and Republican administrations and Republican and Democrats in Congress. When it comes to Israel, it's a uniparty. There's no difference between Republicans and Democrats when it comes to supporting Israel's crimes. Israel has committed these massacres with weapons that have been paid for by me and you, by tax-paying Americans, against our will. These crimes by Israel have been committed with logistical and intelligence support from the CIA, from military intelligence. There's been all kinds of other forms of secondary military assistance to Israel as they've carried this out with the full knowledge of the government, knowing that they're committing genocide and ethnic cleansing. And of course, they've had primary diplomatic support from the United States of America. And you wonder why people in the Middle East hate Israel, and why the people in Iran call us the Great Satan. Wouldn't you? If you were on the receiving end of all of this atrocity? We're doing this not for some good but beneficent country out there trying to do good in the world. We're doing all of this to enable a bloodthirsty Zionist regime that parallels the Nazis at their worst point in history. I love my country, but folks, I hate my government. I don't care if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican. You are a human being first. So when a Democrat like Joe Biden is sending weapons to Israel that are being used to massacre Palestinian babies, you'd better speak up. But when it's your guy, if you're a Republican, and Trump is now the one sending weapons to Israel to massacre Palestinian babies, you'd still better speak up. It doesn't matter who is in office. You ought to be speaking up constantly. And given that there's been this nonstop, unimpeded flow of U.S. tax dollars into the Zionist war machine over there since October 2023, all of you ought to be speaking up constantly about this in social media. You ought to be trying to wake up your friends to this consummate evil that is being perpetrated by the fascist, ethno-supremacist state of Israel, with the full support of Western governments like the UK and the United States. And if you think these figures are bad, just wait and see what happens if Israel manages to hoodwink Donald Trump into jumping into this war with Iran. It's just like when Israel convinced George W. Bush to jump into war with Iraq. How did that go? After 2003, 2004, what resulted? Over 1 million people died as a result of that war. And given the state of the Middle East today as a result of 2 decades of U.S. and Israeli intervention and warmongering, there's a lot of motivation across the nations of the Levant to get their revenge against Americans wherever we can be found. If we jump in there into this war with Iran, you think we're hated now? The idea of America first is total BS. As long as we keep putting the geopolitical goals of another country like Israel ahead of the good of our own country, we have to stop funding Israel. We have to stop doing their dirty work for them. As you've seen this last week, Israel can't win a war against a peer, against a well-armed nation like Iran. So maybe if we just stand back and let Israel get pummeled for once, maybe they'll stop initiating these conflicts with their neighbors, which they can only do when you have the United States as a bodyguard, protecting them whenever they start to get their asses kicked. So send this message to Donald Trump. Send it to the Washington, D.C. political establishment. All these politicians that are bought and paid for by the Israel lobby. Tell them, we the people are mad as hell. We're not going to take it anymore. And we are willing to stand up and fight against these people. The political class, the elites that use us, that sacrifice American blood and treasure on behalf of a genocidal regime. It's time to take a stand. For Blackstone Intelligence, I'm Professor Jake Blackstone. If you'd like a copy of today's transcript along with some citations, sources for the figures that I've given, you can either subscribe as a paid member on patreon.com/blackstoneintel, or you can subscribe at blackstoneintel.substack.com. And if you want more reports like this one, where people dare to speak out against Israel, then crowdfund my work. Make this financially viable for me to do this more often. Links to ways that you can support my efforts are down in the video description. Thank you very much.